Emmy gets up suddenly and leaves the table, leaving me and Miss Iburazaki alone. I'm a little conflicted. Should I go after her, or should I stay here? It's obvious that Emmy's departure was not based on the call of nature. Something's bothering her, and I have to know what it is. How do I? Um, well, she does seem like she's in a bit of a pickle, but you've been seeing that she wants to be dependent on herself a lot as well. So going after her would seem like I'm trying to be overprotective, and I understand women don't like guys who are overprotective because it just makes I understand if I'm having someone try to be overprotective of me, I'll feel like I'm not in control of my own life, even if I have something wrong with me. So I would say, I guess talk to her mom. Maybe she'll give us some pointers. There's an awkward silence at the table for a while after Emmy dashes off. I can't think of anything to say. Emmy's mother sighs, breaking the silence. Sorry about that, Hisao. I sometimes forget that Emmy's touchy about certain subjects. And I was talking about the wheelchair thing too. Should I go after her? Heavens, no! She didn't leave the table to continue the conversation, you know. But if she's troubled, shouldn't someone help her? If it were anyone else, I'd say yes. But my daughter is stubborn as a mule, and if she wants to be alone, it's best to let her be alone. Yeah, like I said, if someone wants to be alone, as long as they're not suicidal, it's best to leave them alone. Otherwise, she'll probably say something she'd regret, which would cause you to say something you'd regret, and I would prefer that dinner didn't end with one of the both of you storming out of the house. If that were to happen, I'd be a terrible hostess, wouldn't I? I've already acted as a fool once today. That's okay. I shouldn't have brought up the wheelchair, apparently. Miss Iburazaki frowns, clearly more bothered by Emmy's omission than she'd let on. I wish she wouldn't do that. It just makes me worry more, you know? She does this often? What, running off to the bathroom? No, I can't say she does. Keep injuries from her mother, though? Well, that's a little more common. Every time I catch her lying like that, she assures me that the only reason she didn't tell me is because it wasn't a big deal. If it's any consolation, I'm sure the only reason I knew about it at I'm sure the only reason I knew about it at all was because I saw her every day. Oh my gosh. This elicits a dry chuckle from across the table. Miss Iburazaki sighs a little sadly. Still hesitant about getting close to people, huh? I keep hoping that she'll get over that. It's funny, really. She's bounced back so well from the accident in so many ways. I guess some things never really go away. From the looks of it, the whole thing still bothers her too. She seems to be a little more willing to talk about the accident without Emmy around, though. Hey, I have a question if it's alright. Oh? What else did Emmy lose in that accident? The nurse said that she gets this way near the anniversary, and she won't talk about it to me. So you thought I'd fill you in, yeah, hopefully. Well, there's a problem with that request, you know. Let me guess, you promised Annie that you wouldn't tell anyone she didn't want to know, and you don't know if she wants me to know. Something like that. I promised Annie that she'd be the one to tell people the full story. But isn't that important? I mean, it's clearly had a huge effect on her, and if she's still like this so long after the accident happened. That's true. It did have a long-lasting effect on her. There are a few things that she'll probably never really get over. For a moment, Miss Iburazaki looks incredibly saddened, as if an old wound is bothering her. I suppose there are a few things I'll never really get over either. Another dry chuckle, and with a shake of her head, Emmy's mother banishes the memory. Look, there's something you absolutely must understand about the way Emmy thinks about the accident. What's that? It wasn't a big deal. Somehow I managed to keep my mouth from falling open in surprise, but it takes some effort. That has to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Heck yeah, it is. I beg your pardon? Okay, maybe it's not that simple, but it's a pretty accurate summation. Emmy believes that the accident did not define her, and that everything she lost that day didn't define her either. She's not that girl who lost her legs. She's the fastest thing on no legs. Her optimism and energy... Sorry, I'm admiring the music. Her optimism and energy came out of that wreck without a scratch, as far as she's concerned. Yet it goes beyond that, doesn't it? I mean, last night she told me that she refuses to rely on me because it would make losing me too painful. Not really. You said she won't tell you about the accident, even though you've asked her about it before. The reason she won't talk about it when you ask is because to her, it's not something you absolutely need to know. Even if she wasn't terrified of getting too close to anyone, she still wouldn't talk about it. She's afraid of being close to me? Oh goodness me, yes. Oh goodness me, yes! For all that talk about being unscathed by the accident, she's gained the ugly knowledge of how quickly it can all be over. So she's not going to let people get especially close to her, and she certainly would resent any implication that she cannot work through this on her own. But I don't think she can. Oh no? Are you sure you've been dating my daughter and not somebody else? Trust me, Hisao, she could get through it on her own. But she has nightmares, and she can't sleep well, and she does this every year. Tell me, if she wasn't able to get through it on her own, do you really think she'd still be alive? She would have killed herself or something equally melodramatic. So what, I shouldn't try to help her? I didn't say that. I hate seeing my daughter like this, and knowing that she can rely on someone else would let me relax. You just need to understand that accepting help goes against everything Emmy thinks about herself, and the way the world works. If you still want to offer her help, then I guess that's your call. Honestly, I'd like you to, but it'd be silly not to warn you that it's not going to be easy. You just need to be patient with her. She's already closer to you than anyone else she's ever met at Yamaku. Ugh. Words. Well, it sure doesn't feel like we're very close. I'm sorry, I always get stuck with that phase. That phase. Good, that makes this part easier. Emmy's voice nearly gives me a heart attack. Whoa, didn't hear you come back, Emmy. How convenient. Wait, were you eavesdropping? Nope, just happened to come back at the right moment, I guess. Emmy, Hisao was just... Emmy holds up a finger, cutting her mother off. On his way out of the house. Yeah, I know. Emmy's trembling with anger now, looking vaguely betrayed. Emmy, don't be ridiculous. We were just... You promised. The pain carried in that last word is almost too much for me to bear. The idea that I could hurt her that much is like being kicked in the gut. Emmy's mother looks similarly pained by the thought. And I kept that promise. Just listen, there's no reason to go throwing people out of the house. Emmy's mother seems to be both angry at her daughter's outburst and embarrassed that I'm a witness to it. There's only one real solution to this problem, I think. It's okay. I'll go. No, really. That seems a little unnecessary. Don't worry about it. Thank you for the dinner, Miss Ibaraki, and for the advice. It was my pleasure, Hisao. I'm sorry we didn't get to dessert. That's okay. I have to watch what I eat anyway. Good evening, Emmy, Miss Ibaraki. The formality of our conversation, coupled with the fact that I'm getting ready to leave, seems to snap Emmy out of her anger. No, wait, I'm sorry. I've been so... And after last night, I just thought... You don't have to go. I take it back. It's okay. I can't help but smile slightly. She could barely articulate her apology, and I really would like to stay, but I don't think I can right now. I need to think about what her mother said, and about what I'm going to do about us. I don't want to risk accidentally getting Emmy angry again in her current state either. No, I think I'd better leave. You seem pretty shook up, and, well, I'd only wind up trying to help you again. I know you prefer I didn't, so I'm going to leave instead. But, hey, it's not a problem. You don't want a night on a white charger, right? Just promise me one thing, okay? What? Don't be angry at your mom, okay? She was just giving me some advice, that's all. Emmy nods hesitantly, like this simple idea is all that she could grab on to at this point. She's so terribly off balance, but I can't do anything about that right now. Okay. See you tomorrow, okay? Running in the morning. Don't forget. I can see that I've hurt Emmy by deciding to leave, but there's nothing I can do for her as things stand, and I know that she's too stubborn to admit that she wants me to stick around. I watch various emotions cross Emmy's face as she tries to process everything that's just happened. Shortly comes to that calm look again, like last night, and that voice that tries so hard to sound careless. Sure, so. See you around. Both of us are unwilling to concede emotion at this point, and I'm having a hard time keeping up my facade. So I turn on my heel and walk out the door. I shut it behind me slowly, pausing for a moment as the latch catches my hand on the doorknob. Did I make the right decision just now? Should I have stayed and tried to work things out? No, I decided. Not in front of her mother like that. In spite of everything, I'd rather keep Emmy's mother, insulated. Insulated? From the sort of anger that surfaced last night. Even though she's probably used to it, some protective instinct wants me to keep Emmy's image as a cheerful girl intact. Woo! I can use the spacebar again! Yay! With a start, I realize my hand is still resting on the knob. I take my hand away, put it in my pocket, and head down the slowly darkening street. I let out a long breath. The wait until tomorrow morning isn't going to be easy. In any case, I have to think on what to say to Emmy. I must apologize, and I must get through to her somehow. On that account, something has been on my mind for most of the way back to my room. The letter of apology from Iwanaka. I was so concerned about my new life when I received it that I didn't even bother to really read it. Now that I finally find myself in a similar position, my curiosity gets rekindled. What did she want to let me know so badly? If nothing else, reading her thoughts might help me frame mine. I remember tossing it away. Damn, where did I throw that thing? I check under my desk. It turns out to be nothing, so I look harder to reach more unlikely locations. Well, now I know where the lost sock went, at least. Still, no letter, though. It's when I try sweeping my arm under my nightstand that I find something crinkly jammed between it and the wall. Grunting a little with the effort, I reach for my prize and soon manage to bring it into the light. Bingo. I sit at my desk and spread the crumpled paper open. A flick turns on the table light. Skipping past the empty pleasantries, I look for the point where I stopped reading. Ah, here it is. There are other things I want to say. I'm writing to you because I felt that there are things I should have said after the incident back in winter. I really regret that I wasn't able to say them in person. I have no excuse for it. The truth is, the times when I visited you at the hospital made me worried about you. I'm not talking about your health. You seem to become more distant and disheartened. Yeah. It was natural after something like that happened, I'm sure, but somehow I got the feeling that you had given up on something back then. Happiness, maybe? Giving up on happiness. That sounds unpleasantly familiar. I wanted to somehow express my feelings, but the right words didn't come to me. I couldn't say anything to comfort you. I am really sorry for not being able to support you when it mattered the most, even though I like you so much. At least now, finally, I can be more honest. If I could go back to those quiet days in February and March, I'd tell you to not give up on yourself. That's what I would say. Maybe you wouldn't have drifted so far away if I had just said something. I hope you've managed to get back on your feet on your own. Now that the distance between us is also physical, it also feels more final somehow. I wonder if we will meet again. Perhaps it's for the best if we don't? Still, if you would like to correspond with me, by all means write me back. I'd very much like to hear about your new school and how you are doing. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Iwanako. After finishing reading the letter, I smooth it out carefully and sit it aside on my desk. Thank you, Iwanako. I wanted to answer yes to your question on that snowy winter day, but I never got to. By the time we met again, it was too late. Or so I thought. What would have happened if I had behaved differently back in that dismally sterile hospital room? I'm sorry. There's no point in wondering now, but there's no point in trying to forget either. I am who I am because of all that happened to me, and all I look forward to experience. Past, present, and future. And the past may just have taught me an important lesson now. Act 4. Motion. Great, there's 4 acts. Beep, 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 beep. The sound of my alarm is an unwelcome intrusion on a sleep that's been a battle to obtain. I doubt I've been truly asleep for more than an hour or two. Too much on my mind. Did I make the right choice leaving the house yesterday? Did I manage to get Emmy to realize how unreasonable she's been? Am I ever going to manage to get her to stop being unreasonable? Emmy's mom gave me a new perspective the other day, but I'm still not sure that's the right perspective. She was hurt when I left yesterday too. I know that part of any conversation is going to have to include an apology about that. Right thing to do or not, I hurt her. I hurried down to the track, eager to talk to Emmy. I think I know what to say. Apologize for leaving first, and going ahead from there. Unless, of course, Emmy doesn't show up. Which, from the looks of things, seems like it's the case. It's been about 15 minutes since I got here, and there's no sign of her. She's never late. Not unless she's sick, which is unlikely. She probably doesn't want to see me right now. To take my mind off what that implies, I begin my warm-up routine and take off around the track. It clears my mind wonderfully. For the half hour I'm running, I don't think about anything but the run. However, once I finish, and Emmy still hasn't shown up, I get a little worried. With any luck, the nurse will know where she is. If nothing else, I can see what he thinks I should do next. So, last night didn't go too well, I think. Gits. You already know. I have my ways. It's not as if I'd missed the distinct absence of your running partner this morning, now would I? No, I suppose not. So what happened? Don't you know already? Maybe, but I could be bluffing. Perhaps I'd prefer to get your side of the story before I give any advice. I quickly fill the nurse in on the events of last night, and he takes it all in without changing expression once. Nothing about the whole event seems to surprise him, although he does seem surprised when I say that I didn't follow Emmy. Just to talk to her mother instead, huh? Smart move, though I guess it didn't work out too well for you in the end. Well, I'm not sure. Emmy seemed apologetic when I left, Or at least she seemed that way until she put up her defenses again. The nurse sighs and spreads his hands in a conciliatory gesture. Frankly, I'm surprised she let them down at all. Emmy's had a lot of practice on that score. You probably won't get anything else out of her. I don't believe you. Is that so? You think she'll tell you the whole tale? I'd swear I just saw that nurse's eyes glitter a little. His expression is the same, but he leans forward ever so slightly. I think she'll open up if I ask her without being an idiot about it. Yeah. Nurse gives his enigmatic smile in response. I pressed the spacebar by accident. Dang it. But pause the video at that 1 second if you wanted to read the rest. That's the real trick, isn't it? Aren't you sure you know the right way to approach the subject? I can guarantee that Emmy's going... Oh, that's a mail truck. I can guarantee that Emmy's going to try her hardest to pretend last night didn't happen. It will be painfully awkward for the both of you, but it will also be a lot safer than trying to ask her for the whole story again. It could go worse this time. Are you ready for something like that? Sounds like a challenge. Challenge accepted. Like he didn't believe for a minute that I'd be so bold. I actually feel a little insulted by his lack of confidence in me. Of course I'm ready for that. I love her! My outburst gets a raised eyebrow in response. Well then. Good luck. Let me know how it turns out. Although he delivers his parting shot with the same smirk as usual, I actually think that the nurse wants me to succeed. I resist the urge to charge directly to Emmy's room to prove the nurse wrong. I've gone in half-cocked before, and the results were less than stellar. If I'm going to do this, I need to figure out exactly what I'm going to say, and how I'm going to say it. Something to think about in class.